Welcome back, everybody, to Equity Guru's ongoing series of interviews with CEOs in the mining space. Today, Patrick Cruickshank from 9 Mile Metals, NINE is the ticker symbol. Patrick, we've had probably 20 minutes of discussion about that Canadian soccer jersey behind you there and all the things that are wrong with soccer in the world. But let's go to mining, from one contact sport to another, from one industry where the big money and corruption rules to another. What's it like being a mining CEO today in this market in Canada?
I'm telling you, I think I have more bruises and contusions today than I ever had in my whole career. You feel the pain, but that being said, we couldn't be in a more exciting time period, I believe, in the critical mineral space in mining. There's a global shortage: copper, lead, zinc, silver, gold, lithium. All the sovereign issues that are being changed with the government to protect these minerals, rightly so, and we're about to explode, I believe, on the back of the EV revolution.
On the back of the EV revolution, but also gold starting to show itself a little bit recently.
Yeah, I mean, I would, being in the financial capital markets for 20 years prior to this life, it'd be nice to have gold free floating, but there's so much synthetic paper and asset derivatives out there, it'll never be free floating. But yeah, it's a good sign. Bitcoin and the invention of crypto has withheld it a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's come back. But again, the base metals is boring, but you can't have 8 billion people and a demand and appetite for base metals like copper and lead, zinc, and all the stuff that's boring out there. And we're still, every pound of refined lead zinc is delivered. There is no stockpiles. I was on a panel with critical minerals at PDAC last year, and the U.S. stockpiles. You hear about oil stockpiles.
Yeah.
And all that. Well, there used to be critical mineral stockpiles in the 40s, 50s, 60s on the back of World War II. And there was, in today's value, the US had over $1 billion worth of mostly for defense, right? For defense. Sure. But defense minerals then is our green energy today.
Yeah.
How the US has been dealing with that since is whenever they can't balance a budget, they'll go and sell some of this. And we're down to bankruptcy levels.
Yeah.
So the U.S. started that program a year ago with the Pentagon and the Department of Defense, opening up an office where right now the only country they can buy from directly is Canada for these critical minerals, and stockpile again. And it's a race against other sovereign nations controlling these around the world. And Canada had a 1945 Munitions Act. And that's how it's already been approved through Congress. So its outlook's good for Canadian companies. Our challenge is that all of our critical minerals, majority, I'm blanketing that statement, are in very remote areas with no access, weather, no infrastructure, etc. Arctic Circle, all these things, yeah. Right? But Bathurst, New Brunswick was the third largest mining camp in the world, the largest zinc lead mine, 45 deposits, 25 over 1 million tons. Maritimes is affordable, infrastructure, access roads, 12 months a year, deep water ports. And
they're not afraid of mining.
It's a hidden gem.
They're not afraid to throw a mining permit out there.
No, and it's a very rich history in mining community. They want nothing more than to have a restart on the camp. And like we were talking offline, the problem or the challenge is VMS deposits or vertical deposits, and the footprint on surface, 500 meters to 1,000 meters. It's not these huge 2 and 5 kilometer trends like other minerals.
Right.
And vertical, and they go down a mile or two. They're massive deposits. The Brunswick 12 was 335 million tons. Over $1 trillion in today's value, and it mined for 50 plus years and just closed because it didn't run out of ore. It was unstable. But every 20 years, roughly, there's a new technology, geophysical technology, and there's a rash of discoveries. And that's where we are now. The government believes we've only found 30% of the known deposits in the camp. There's 70% still to be discovered. The challenge we have is there's only 1% outcrop in the camp. And those obviously have all been found. But when, gravity was used in the 50s, there was a bunch of discoveries, and then VTEM, and then magnetics, and now it's drone-based EM with audio acoustic EM technology now. Like, it's phenomenal, and artificial intelligence and algorithms and reprocessing and filtering and all. We believe our technical team is really leading edge, and we're in the middle of a drill program right now on a massive target, and we just press released our roadmap for the next 2 years of targets and geophysics, and we're at it, and I believe somebody in Bathurst is under the spotlight. Someone's going to have a big discovery, and then you'll hear all about it down back in Bathurst, New Brunswick.
Well, so what's interesting about your stock chart here is at a time when everybody else is throwing the nooses over the rafters and kicking the chairs out from under themselves, you guys are getting a real spike in interest. Your share price is rolling, your volume is up. Like, it seems like for a small company doing the work, generally speaking, they're discounted, but there are people circling around you.
Yeah, and it's because we started off with having the 9 Mile Brook lens discovery, and that's the highest grade VMS lens ever recorded in Bathurst, and that's we drilled that last year, and we hit the high 40s at the time, 40 cents level, and we hit 12%. It's all on our press release. 12% copper, 38% lead zinc, 600 silver, and 1.52 grams per ton gold over 20 meters. So 12% over 20 meters, is the same as 1% over 200 meters. I mean, it's phenomenal that usually with VMS you get lead zinc around 10%, which is economic, and then 0.5% copper, quarter grams per ton gold. But this is the highest grade across, and it's a hard break. So what happens is you get these vertical lenses, and they, with all the folding and thrust faults and all in the Bathurst mining camp over 400 million years, they snap. And like the Caribou mine and the Brunswick 12, they were 6 lenses. So we have the first one, phenomenal, and we've announced we're in the process of a 25 to 3,500 ton bulk sample on that, and it doesn't match, the grade doesn't match anything recorded in the camp from any deposit. Since then, so we have that going for our valuation, and we were actually we're averaging, we traded over 60 million shares in a year, very, very liquid, and I think we hit a lot of charts. But since then, we've acquired the California Lake Project and the Wedge Mine and the Wedge Project, and that's what our last press release was showing, our regional roadmap and our geophysics showing trends. It's much easier. We drilled 8 holes at California Lake last year and hit VMS up to 19 meters. We didn't own the source. We purchased that 2 months ago, and we purchased the target we're drilling right now 2 months ago, and now we own over 100 square kilometers and 11 trends. So we have our roadmap for the next several years, and we are in the middle of a program right now drilling 1,000-meter hole on our densest target we have. So our technology, we use AI, mag, drone, EarthEX does reprocessed with algorithms, all the public data, so charges the ground, long-time late conductors on the ground. We believe that correlates to an ore body that holds that magnetic charge the longest before it dissipates. And then we're testing this new technology where they're shooting sound waves. They use it. Exxon developed it in the oil industry, and they're having good success, finding real deep oil reserves. So what they do is they use the EM frequency and the audible, and go down and they test the sound waves, test the density of the rock. So I'm going to superficially bring this to my level. I'm not a geologist, but when they measure the audio and the acoustic waves, they can actually extrapolate the density. First, give you not a extrapolated 3D image. It's a true 3D image. The problem we have with geophysics now, it hasn't evolved since the 60s, and you can only really see 300-400 meters below surface.
Yeah.
Without software enhancements and extrapolation and forecasting and all those things. But this technology, technically, scientifically, audio wave should go to the center of the earth. And so that's why they're finding these super deep discoveries in oil. And now we were approached by this company, and they flew the whole camp from 2016 to 2019 with fixed wing airborne EM. And they came to us and said, you got the biggest, densest target on the whole Bathurst mining camp on your property. And so, that was 5-6 months ago, and we've, culminated all our technology. We had it independently with all of our technology groups, and where all of them highlight the same target for different technologies and different work, and there's no collaboration between them. They're blind to each other. That's our target, and that's what we press released, those 11 trends and targets in the VMS world where we know we have VMS. Target number 1, our last press release, is the wedge mine. It was Kaminko's, that tech bot. It's 3 million tons. We believe it's deeper, bigger, and has an extension on it. That's just one of our targets. So I think the market is, when the Canadian market's really educated, but they also, it's such a short window of I guess time in the limelight, that if you're quiet and you're out there doing your processing and geophysics and your exploration design, and you're not drilling with results, money seems to go where there's activity and potential returns. Sure. It's we are a 12-month operation in Bathurst, warehouses, crew, homes, equipment, XRF, all that kind of stuff. We're not just a 1-month consulting company.
Right.
So we are drilling. We're very active, and our shareholders and the people following us always come back when we're active, because we are very proud of our technology, and we believe we're going to have some success and some significant success for the camp.
Well, so you've basically 4 projects out there, correct me if I'm wrong, and only a $7 million market cap, which seems like you're undervalued. If I look back on your stock,
argue our bulk sample revenue will be more than our market cap.
That would indicate you're undervalued. If I go back in time a little bit on your stock chart, back in June, there was a big drop off. What was the situation there that made it nice?
Well, back then, we had just announced, I believe, if I read you correctly, we were in the 40s just prior to that. And that's when we had just drilled the California Lake East project that we just purchased. And we hit 8 out of 11 holes and VMS in 8 of those holes. And we just discovered a new trend. But again, we didn't have the source, which is 2 kilometers south.
Right.
So anyway, we were at a high. And then at the same time, because we're very active, we're not drilling for just strategic reasons, right?
Sure.
We're very active, and we were looking for the second lens on 9 Mile Brook. So of course, you can't spend millions of dollars shooting geophysics on the whole property. So you do the grid that you believe is close. So we did 40 line kilometers close, and there is no trend to follow. When this thing breaks off, we're looking for the other trends, but you got hundreds of geophysical targets.
Sure.
So we were drilling, and then we, so we haven't discovered and halted the stock and announced the lens number 2. So it's an ongoing different style of exploration. It's very challenging.
Sure. But also, there's a lot of people would pay respect to that style of exploration, right? Because the strategic would be go where there's already something. You're trying to find that thing that may or may not exist, but if it does, you shoot the moon.
Right. And technically, it's they're never alone. They usually don't travel apart very far from each other, but they're structurally controlled. So just think of underground highways, and it's, where did it go? Where did it go? It's such high grade because we believe, and so does the government geophysicists and structural geologists who are experts in their own camp are saying you're so high grade because you're so close to the vent or the volcano chamber. So there was a lot of expectation. But again, it's in multiple stages. We just did that first grid. Now we're going to shoot another grid and step out. You know, this thing can be up to 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 meters away. But there's hundreds of targets, right? Because the technology. So anyway, it's an ongoing project, and we'll revisit that. And we're, you know, we finally got all our geophysics consolidated, and we're very excited on the western side of our portfolio, which we believe is less challenging. And we have there's multiple deposits. I mean, there's a canoe landing lake there, 34 million tons. If you look at our press release and our geophysic filtering, we have the mine, the wedge mine. We got the canoe landing lake mine to use as base models, and we have these new targets untested, and we're drilling one right now, and we're very excited. We drilled one last year and hit, not knowing the full picture until now. So it's been backward proofed, forward proofed, and we're drilling now, and we will get back to 9 Mile Brook next spring.
So back in the early part of the year, it would have cost you about almost 50 cents to buy a share of your company, that when you knew less about the property than you do now. Now you get it for 12.5 cents. A couple of weeks ago, you got it for 6.
Exactly.
Like that's a nice big run.
And it's difficult. The market doesn't like equity raises, capital raises, and it's just a necessary evil in our business. We don't have revenue. No exploration company does. So, you know, it's all timing and the sentiment market. There's a lot of factors, obviously, as you know. But I believe we're undervalued? Absolutely. You know, large management position in this company. Haven't sold any stock. So, I mean, you know, I think the outlook is very positive for us, and we're really excited, and we're very active. We're testing that right now. We can't wait to circle back and press release positive results.
And that activity, I think, is a real separator between you and a lot of your competition right now. Like, there's a lot of companies that are just hiding from the market, that have decided that there's no good to be had, and we're better off to just wait until tax loss season's over. But you're out there, you're swinging those drills into the ground.
Yeah, and we're not drilling known extensions, shallow holes. I mean, number one, our geophysics is leading edge and very expensive. Number two is we believe it's a game changer, which so does the government. But at the same time, we're drilling 1,052 meter hole right now. Those aren't cheap.
Yeah.
You know? And we are testing our technology, but we're not chasing anything. We are systematically using our science to drill our priority targets. And that's what we do. And it takes time to filter it and bring in different technologies from different perspectives. And when they all agree, we get quite excited. And that's what we've shared with the market last week with our press release and our map.
And as winter sets in,
viewers to follow us and watch for themselves and learn more about the company.
And as winter sets in and everybody else goes home, you're able to keep rolling.
We can drill 12 months of the year. We'll be drilling until December 19th. We're in this hole now, and then we'll move to our next one. And we are very active. We try to communicate as much as we can and share. I mean, it's exciting, not just for us, but for other people to know and get some disclosure on what we're seeing and what's making us so excited and learning a bit more. So we like to do a lot of interviews and put out social media and let you know where we are in the hole, and not just this empty, unknown void.
Yeah, for sure. Look, a lot of our viewers are younger investors, historically maybe not so much into mining, but frequently now coming to a place where they realize that everything in their pocket comes out of your ground. Do you think that the younger audience has really figured it out yet, or are we still a long way away from where they can replace the traditional walking frame mining investor?
Yeah, I think, you know, it is a different generation. I think, if I understand your question correctly, you know, they use social media, they read the reels, they can't read it, they don't have the time or energy to do the press releases and the technical and all that. They want to really get to know the people and the personalities at the company and understand it in a little more common language. There's a big chase on lithium, but I've been a capital markets guy for 20 years. I mean, if I chased every last year's good performer,
Right.
and then when you get barriers of entry, it's like the marijuana space. I mean, at the end of the day, there'll be 5 companies that own everything.
Right.
There's a lot of, and I learned this in the oil industry very, very early that, all those uneconomic and poor projects for 20 years, now all of a sudden they blow the dust off them and they're back in limelight because the sector's in the spotlight. So again, there's room for not just EV traditional, but there's all the supporting, like critical minerals is very important going forward. The demand is not slowing down, as you know, but it may be highlighted by the electric vehicle. But zinc, for instance, you need galvanized posts, you need signs, you need copper, you need Tesla announced they need a mile of copper in every electric vehicle of theirs.
Wow.
There'll be leaps in technology. So they're also looking at a permanent magnet engine. They're looking to replace lithium, right? So that'll continue to evolve, but there's green technology like lead and zinc, there's a company in Vancouver, a technology with I believe it's called Zinc 8. And they have a zinc battery because, the solar fields and the wind turbines and all that kind of energy storage you need that holds that charge for a month, not just a lithium battery and needs charging every day and everything you use. They're actually for battery tanks. That's zinc. That's low grade zinc and clean energy. And the same thing with silver. You need it for solar panels and computers and all this stuff. So when you think about the old base metals that was boring and not sexy, it is necessary every day of our life, and not synthetic paper like gold. You need to deliver the physical, and the inventories that are historic lows, and everything they're producing is getting purchased and used. So I think going forward, as you see with copper and some of these, and there's a lot of geopolitical issues right now around the globe. And I think a jurisdiction like Canada, and within Canada, a jurisdiction like New Brunswick that is so pro-mining and supportive and historic, and even the local college has mining degrees, it's just phenomenal. And cost of work and crown land and all the different variables. I believe it's the best jurisdiction in all of Canada.
There's a lot to be said for a company not to have to go out somewhere with AK-47s to get their mining material.
Yeah, or other issues that seem to happen. But we're very excited. It's in our backyard. We're not looking for the first discovery. There's 45 of these, 25 over 1 million tons, and the world's largest at the time for 50 years. And we believe there's another one out there. And there is a lot of underexplored, hundreds of kilometers on those contact points. So we're very excited to be one of the leading companies there. And there's a lot of companies having success.
Well, look, I appreciate the fact that you're doing the work when no one else is. You're able to do the work when no one else is. Your stock is moving when no one else's is. You're a multi-metal play. So whatever is in need at any given point, chances are you guys have a boat in that pond. And you know what? As somebody who has reached the highest levels in sport earlier in his life, I feel like you're the kind of guy who takes that same attitude with his company.
Well, there are a lot of correlations with sport and finance. And then, I believe just the fabric of a lot of folks with this kind of background is you try not to ever entertain failure. You bring your best every day. You adapt to environments and situations and curveballs that are thrown. And I just believe we have a fantastic technical team because we're technically driven. And then we have a great management team and crew and a jurisdiction, and all those things together. I really think that's why we're there, and we're a big position and continue to grow. And I really want to have success there for everybody, our shareholders and our followers and everybody.
So your most recent news release, you've taken out $600,000 in loan financing. I'm guessing just because stock price doesn't really warrant doing a traditional raise.
We were approached actually
Oh yeah,
by a group that wanted to do convertible, and it turns out, it's very well received because it's we press released the bulk sample we're going to do, right? So it's convertible. You have we have the option, but it's not dilution at these prices.
right.
You know,
Do you, I mean, obviously in a perfect world, the answer is always yes, we need as much money as there is in the world. But do you need cash in an urgent way to continue drilling, or are you in pretty good shape?
no, I mean, obviously, you've seen our activity level, and we've been doing this since we acquired all this projects back in the January of 2021. We've been very active, and you can look at all our drilling and everything in our geophysics, and very active all year round. But would I want an unlimited bank account? We all would, right? We think we have our treasure map and our geophysical exploration roadmap, and now it's just a matter of a business execution strategy and to do it in the best way for the shareholder and for valuation and grow that valuation. And but there's always a balance. My geological team would love to drill every day, right?
Yeah.
but we're trying to, we have a fantastic team. We'd love to be able to post analyze and look at our model and see if we're on track, and use gyro probes so we have no magnetic interference and all these things. And they're expensive, but we're really trying to, like you said, bring our best game to the table every day, and be the best prepared as you do prior to a game, and execute and be successful. At the end of the day, be hopefully West Ham sitting at the top of the Premiership table.
Well, that'll be the day.
But they also need money, don't they? I mean,
Well, yeah, everyone in the Premier League needs money.
Yeah, yeah. So
Compete with those
there's a
Man City
balance.
goons.
But you're trying to do scientific backing and quality and competency, and technically, geophysically, and management wise, and execute on both sides of the board table.
Yeah. Well, look, I think that you've got all the good bones there for something really, really nice to roll out. I'm a big fan of the old theory that you back the jockey as much as the horse, and it seems going through your news releases that you guys have been doing work the right way for some time, and that people are starting to notice. So more power to you.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, doing it the right way, and de-risking and trying to increase value is always kind of, sometimes you feel like you're swimming up water with capital markets and what they want, right? But
Right.
you can risk it and do it the right way, rather than chase returns, just like your capital markets and what you do as an investor.
Long term over short term.
Yeah, and last year's winners aren't this year's winners, right?
Right.
So
Well, along those
for a
lines,
reason.
there's a lot of bodies floating down the river there. Any acquisition targets that you've got your eye on, or are you sticking to your knitting?
We obviously, we're very proud of the quality of our portfolio we have now, and we obviously do have years of exploration. But with that success and with our position, and what we support in our programs, we get called all the time. We get called by local, non-local projects. We evaluate other projects, and if it's right, growth by acquisition, we'll entertain that. But we're very excited in the Bathurst camp, so we do evaluate, and if it makes sense on a business level and a shareholder value level, because you got to be cognizant, whoever, hopefully us, but whoever has that big next discovery, I'd hate to look backwards and go, we could have acquired this ground for a tenth of the price,
Right.
So we're always looking at it, but we have a very strong technical due diligence process, and with the government and with us, and there's a lot of educated experts on VMS in this camp specifically, because it is one specific creation model. So
I think
on and bring in our best game.
A lot of mining investors sort of look around right now and think, well, I could buy in today, but tomorrow it could be cheaper in a general market sense. But Looking at your share chart right now, it really does feel like a train leaving the station moment. It feels like it's still cheap, but that
Yeah.
the trend is that it might not stay that way. So if people are interested, they should go check out NINE, go read some news releases, and maybe see if it's a good fit.
Yeah, and and track us, watch our news.
What the next couple of months, what do you feel like your news flow is likely to be? Just result.
We're in a drill program, so we are. If you look at our news flow since we started, we're very connected to our market and our share base and our people following us, and like yourself, we're looking to create new relationships that can communicate our story and our opportunity to people in a high level way, and I hopefully we're doing that, and we're going to keep our news flow every week while we're active.
Keep doing God's work, man.
Result, right? That's
yeah.
But we know what we're looking for. We have quality people.
Well, we'll keep an eye out, and maybe we'll chat again in a month or two.
That'd be fantastic.
Excellent.
And hopefully the hammers will be further up the table.
Well, we'll have to chat before West Ham versus Liverpool breaks out next.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We'll have to check out that fixture, yeah?
You just make sure you don't wear that shirt to any Canada games, because they might put you on the field.
No, that's a long time ago. I mean, geez. I'm very proud of what they've accomplished. Can't wait for the World Cup in 2026. Really can't.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
And we're definitely developing homegrown talent now rather than, import talent. So I'm very happy for where we're going, the direction we're going. I wish they had better funding, and
better administrators. Yeah. Well, one foot in front of the other.
Exactly.
That's Patrick from 9 Mile Metals, NINE. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Cheers.